All
All
right.
right.
Greetings. This is Discovery of Self. We finally figured it out after
Mm.
the fifth or sixth time.
Mm.
This is Yana. Karina's in the background. And like I said, we have an amazing individual slash artist today, James Radcliffe. If you haven't heard his music or visited WordPress blog, I suggest you do because I've been on it every day.
Oh wow, nice.
So yeah, so yes, we're gonna get right into it, and
Sounds good.
I'm so excited, and I just want to know as much as I can about you, James, and your journey and your process of where you are now,
Okay.
and some insights and knowledge and advice that you can give to our viewers, and especially our aspiring musicians, artists, what have you. Because you got some talent there. So I think they'll appreciate that.
Thank you very much, and I'll do the
Yeah,
best I can.
yeah. So welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you come to be where you're at now? Your process of discovering yourself, your artistic self.
Okay. Let me see. I'm an independent musician. An artist. I live in Edinburgh, Scotland, and I've been doing music for a really long time. I think the first time I played live was when I was about 7 in a school orchestra and band, and my first solo performance was when I was about 8.
Wow.
So I've been doing it for a really long time, and it has been a long journey, but a great one. And I've bounced around and done several things, but always been doing music and art. And in the last, I think, 5 years or so, that's pretty much all I do. It's my job, so it's how I earn my living, and it's how I pay my rent, and it's what I do every single day, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I would say so.
It is, right?
And what is that saying? When you like find something that you're passionate about and do it, it'll never seem like work.
Yeah,
Um,
I read that quote yesterday. It's a Confucius quote. He said, if you pick something that you love, and you'll never work a day in your life."
exactly, something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I
Well,
love it. It's all about following your passion.
me too. Yeah, it is. It really is.
Wow, so you started like pretty young. So did you always knew that you had a knack for like making music or playing music, all of that?
I think so. I don't know whether it's knowing that I have a knack or maybe being slightly deluded. It always seemed really, really easy. It always seemed like something that anyone can do. Um, I think I still believe that. I think it depends on how you apply yourself to it, but I really think that anyone with an interest or a desire to do it can. There's a bit of hard work, and there's a bit of not even hard work, but there's a definite process you go through in order to be at a position where you can do it. But it's very much like the process of learning to speak a language or to
Mm.
speak your native tongue when you're younger. It doesn't really seem like work. You just get to a certain point where you can converse, you know?
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Because I know that that's true. Because I've always wanted to learn the piano and guitar, and like you said, if you don't put the practice and the work in it, um, especially when you're young, because that's when you're more, you observe more, you learn quicker,
Right.
So that's great.
It's pretty
Um,
cool.
yeah, it is. Now, do you play any instruments?
I do. So I sing, obviously. I do a lot of voice stuff, and I play guitar and piano. I played guitar for a really long time, like 20 years. So that's kind of like that's very easy for me. Piano, I've never really practiced, but I've always used it to write. And then the last month or so, I've started playing cello, which is pretty cool.
Ah, wow.
But I think everything has a really like I think everything in music and I think in art as well has a really it's almost like a unified base. So
Mm.
I think it all comes from the same place, and if you understand it, you can apply that kind of process to anything else.
Yeah, explain, go into that a little deeper because that was kind of on my mind what you just said that because um, just art itself, the act of creating and of just letting go and just, trying, that doesn't work, try this, that doesn't work, try this. I mean, it's really like a beautiful metaphor for
Yeah.
everything that you delve in. So speak on that a little bit more from your experience.
Okay, no problem. I think you hit the nail on the head with the two things you said there. I think that learning to let go and actually learning how to come from that place where you're just naturally creative and you don't have any sort of self-censorship happening is one thing. And I think that's really the first challenge. And then the second thing, which is almost more important, which is the other thing you said, which is just iteration. Just trying to do something, trying to finish it. So you make something, you finish it, you learn from that, you go on, you make something else, you finish it. You keep trying until you have something which is actually... I always think that the benchmark is something which has value for other people. So I make a lot of art which is just me just making it for myself. But I don't offer it up to people unless I think it has value for them. So I think the jump between, doing art for yourself and in any sort of sense, and then doing it in the world and also having people pay you for that, is that kind of line between you're doing it for yourself and you're learning, and then when you start making things that other people can get something from, that's when you can go into the world and offer that to people, and people will kind of respond in kind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, perfectly, because yeah, perfectly. Because being a dancer and you know, um, and performing and having people kind of comment on how certain dance moves touch them and inspire
Yeah.
them, and you were not even conscious of that because in that moment it was inspiring you, it was touching you, and as a result, someone resonated with it. So that's the ultimate gift right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to tell you that I really admire dancers a lot because I kind of think that it's kind of one of those places where you're an artist, but you're also an athlete essentially, and so you
Mm.
have to do so much. I imagine at least to you got to kind of keep being able to dance, but then also just to maintain your body. I imagine is quite a challenge as well as getting work and kind of working in the marketplace. Is that right?
Yes, I actually am with the African drum dancing group. Um,
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, in Oklahoma, it's kind of like on the hush hush for now because it does. There's no such thing here in Oklahoma. So, and we have a master instructor. I mean, he's had groups that have traveled to Japan and Australia and all that. So he's in Oklahoma,
Wow.
living and trying to start a group here. So yeah, especially African drum dancing, and yeah, you pretty much sweat and get out of breath. But once, I mean, because I'm so passionate about that genre
Uh-huh.
that I only feel the tiredness after.
That's great. That's
So
really great.
yes, I'm glad you do because it's like that's why I said dance and music. They just go hand in hand. It's just like marriage made in heaven.
It
Like
really
it's
is. Yeah.
beautiful because we're pretty much depicting the melody, the instruments that are in the music. If we want to, it's like a sweet communication. It's very,
Yeah.
very sweet. So that's how I describe it. So, yeah,
Okay.
we're not gonna go into, we're not gonna talk about dance because then I'll take over the interview.
I'm happy to listen though. It's fascinating.
Oh my God! Well, thank you, thank you. I wanted to know, growing up, what kind of training, schooling, if any, did you go to really craft your skill? What did you?
Let me see. You mean music, right? Specifically,
Yes.
right? I didn't really have any formal training. I tried a few things, but they never really worked for me. I had one guitar lesson, and as soon as I had the guitar lesson, I just thought, there's no way that the guy could teach me.
Oh.
Not in any kind of arrogant way. It's just it wasn't a good fit at all.
Mm.
So I've always been very self-led when it comes to art and my own thing. And the way I generally do things is I'll learn through exploring and making things myself. So it kind of, because art is very personal to me. It's a very I mean, that's why I'm a solo artist. is very, very personal. Having anyone else kind of say, this is what you should do. I mean, I'll listen to that stuff and see if there's anything I can take from it. But mainly what I do is I'll kind of go into the center of something and just kind of over a long period go as deep as I can until I feel like I can kind of inhabit it whenever I want. And I did that with voice. I did that with guitar. I'm doing it with cello now. There's a lot of crossover. It's very you can there's a lot of transfer. You can take the process, I think, and apply it to something and do it quite fast. So with the cello, for example, one of the things I'm doing now is I released the album in January, and I've been doing a whole bunch of other stuff in the meantime. And then last month, I've had this bug for a long time because I've written a load of cello pieces, a load of pieces for strings, and I can write for orchestra too, but there's no real way of me recording them because I own my own studio, but hiring string players and rehearsing them is really expensive, and the time just takes too long to do, and electronic strings sound really scuddy. They're not good for me, because it sounds like something pretending to be something it's not. So I was just like, I borrowed a cello from a friend, and I was like, well, I'll learn that and I'll just record that myself. So I've been playing cello for about a month, and I'm gonna start recording a piece that I've written tomorrow, and then I'll put it out. I'll be putting it out in about another month. So there'll be about 2 months from me picking up the cello to me putting something out that will be good. It's sounding really good. I'm very happy. But
wow.
The reason I'm talking about it though is just because I think the reason I can do that is because I've been through that process of learning how to express myself through something so many times that now I have it down to kind of, in my own style, I have it down to a really kind of a very streamlined process. So it's quite easy.
Wow, that's really refreshing because that really resonates with me as far as when you were saying that you pick up on, things that you can learn, but then the majority of it is just personal and self-taught. And that's how I've always felt about my dance because it always felt, what's the word, like really forced and unnatural when I would be in dance classes. Like I wouldn't do my own little twist to it, and they'll be like, well, do it this way. This is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it sounds, does it not kind of like there's a kind of dissonance, inside of you, there's this kind of feeling of like, almost like a going away from, like a being repelled by that, and you know the way that you should do it yourself. That's really cool.
Yeah, it almost feels like I'm like just putting a lot of thought in it and just instead of just being. So that's really interesting that you have that same kind of thought process when it comes to your artwork. So that's cool. I resonated with that.
Yeah, I think the way that you do things is cool, but that's probably because it's the same way as me. But I think I think that's I really think that's the way of most art. I have taught music like a little bit for some people. Like when people come to me and ask, sometimes I'll say yes and I'll give them lessons. But it's always, for me, is always a process of understanding how that person works and how they want to develop, and then just kind of pointing them in a certain way, or taking mistakes that are obvious to me and sort of taking those out and pointing those out, like technical things. But I really think that everybody develops on their own path, and the fastest way is just your own way.
No, I totally agree, and I especially
That's cool.
It's really resonating, and
makes me happy.
Yes, it does. It makes me smile and grin because I'm like, yes, this is what I mean. I've been trying to articulate this to, my fellow dancers and friends. So, because they do say you have a little funky way of dancing, and I'm like, well, it's my funky way.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing as well. Like to have your own voice in anything is such a beautiful thing.
It is, and I like the way that you described, because you're also a great writer as well, because that's my second passion. I love to write as well, and I haven't been doing that as much, but the way you summed up why you make music, I mean, that's pretty much how I kind of see dancing, and how some of the people that I've met
that is so amazing. That
And
makes me so happy to hear.
yeah, and I would love to read it so our viewers can see it because it just, I mean, when I read it, I was like, yes! So I'm gonna read it, just because whenever I read it, it's like, yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Okay.
So, and it's under your website, and it's the reason why I make music, and you could just switch it. The reason why I write poems, the reason why I dance. I mean, you could really interchange it. So it says, I make music because of the place that it comes from, the state I am in when I'm making it, that place where time disappears and everything else dissolves, the place where fierce joy rises up unbidden like golden light filling a well. Wow! When I read that, all I could envision was like a big well, and I'm like in the middle in the water because I love water, and then just like a ray of like sunshine beaming down. I mean, I'm a visual person, so that's what I imagined.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
yes, I'm like yes, that's what it's about. That's definitely what true artists. When they're in their zone, they
Mm.
truly immerse themselves and disappear in a
Yeah, I
way.
completely agree. I completely agree. I think that your vision is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to share that because that was just like impactful when I read it. I was like, yes. And an artist to another artist, it's beautiful, and that's what's so
Yeah.
beautiful about art and artists. It's like whether we play music, dance, write, whatever, we all share that same, concept of just like you said, making it very personal, internal, in your process, and then when it hits and resonates with other people, that's the ultimate because then you get a
Absolutely.
connection.
Yeah. I think it's a marriage between coming from that place. I think that every great artist comes from that place, and I also think that every great artist has learned their own unique way of expressing that. And the thing, when you see something, whether it be, like a painting or a piece of dance, or you hear a piece of music or see a film, I really think, a piece of writing, anything at all, or even a conversation that really hits, I really think it's a marriage of those two things. You have the place, that kind of place that's so beautiful, and you have that person having learned how to be themselves as fully as possible.
Yes, it encourages other people to really go to that place. You
Yeah,
know.
I think it does, but I think there's a danger that people are not really unaware of, but I see it in music a lot, which is you'll get someone who can come from that place and has learned to kind of channel it through their own voice, but when some people hear it, what they'll do is they'll understand on some level that's great art, but then they'll just try and imitate the voice without understanding that the reason it's great is because that person's expressing themselves in their own voice. So I
Mm,
think there's a pitfall there that you know it's hard not to fall into, because when you hear something that's amazing and just makes you want to kind of roll about on the floor, it's very hard. I think if you're still looking around for your voice, to not just want to do that because you think, oh, that must be the answer, but I think there's not really enough emphasis in our culture on finding your own voice. And I think that
mm,
really is key. And that's one of the reasons as well. I think sometimes schooling can be a little bit, if you're not, if a school isn't focused on actually developing that student in their own natural way, if they're more focused on you'll play like this or you'll dance like this, I think
mm.
it can really kill self-expression for someone, and that's not a good place to be that close and then to kind of have that thing taken away would be not fun at all.
Oh wow! You've hit a nerve. I say that because I work in the school system, and I've intentionally placed myself in the elementary schools, and I see
Wow.
that yes, I see that day in and day out, and my intention is to change one school at a time, change the staff's mentality, and I'm actually going to be incorporating dance in movement for small groups. So
That is
I
amazing. Well
yes,
done. That's
yes,
amazing.
thank you. So I know what you're saying when I see it every day, and it's heartbreaking for me because I'm all about expressing yourself, especially when you're a child. That's the pinnacle moment where you need to have that freedom. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
excited to be offering that group so that way that they know, hey, there's one person that gets me, that lets me for that 30 minutes to express myself. So I
That is so
totally get
great.
what you're saying. Yeah, about school.
Well
It's a
done, man.
killer.
That's a really, really beautiful thing to do. That's a great, great work. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm really, yeah. So that was, yeah, you said it best. It really kills creativity.
Yeah,
It's
can
really
do.
sad to watch. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm situated with a
Sounds
purpose.
exciting. Sounds exciting. So you're doing an African dance group, and you're going to change the world through the school system.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to incorporate art back into not just music, which is just as important, but the other arts. Dance is the only art that doesn't seem to be in the elementary schools here in Oklahoma, in the
Interesting.
city. Yeah, it's not really looked at as very academia, but there's research and stuff like that that says, hey, it really works a part of the brain that's really good for students doing great on testings that you guys really stress. So if you tie it into academic testing, it'll sell. So that's what I'm working in, bringing professional dancers to the elementary school, at least one or two elementary at a time, because I'm not going to give up. you
That's
know.
great. That's really great.
So, yeah, so it's amazing that you say that. So yeah, so that's the process that I'm in. So wow, okay, I am grinning from left to right because
Me
it's
too.
so amazing. The energy is so impactful, and I'm gonna, because we could talk about art and everything like that. So I want to go back to where you said music is very personal, and I kind of really, not kind of, I really did sense it in some of the tracks that I was able to hear um, through the instruments or through the voice,
Okay.
especially the track number 4 and the Forever. That
Right.
one really, the ending of it. Because when I hear music, every dance is different. When I hear it, it triggers a certain emotion, a certain way that I move, and it's like I
Okay.
can actually feel uh, a little bit of what the artist wanted to convey, and I try to put that in movement.
Okay.
Um, so, how does that process work when you're working on an instrumental or voice? Like, what's the steps? Where does that come from? The inspiration?
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
Um, um, I don't know. I really don't know. I usually my process is uh so what I do is I get to a place where I'm very still inside and I meditate before I play or before I record. And let me think. um okay. So yeah, what usually happens is if I'm doing a session, then I'll meditate for a long time until I'm very, very peaceful inside, and then I'll warm up whatever instrument I'm playing. So if that's voice, I'll do voice stuff. If it's guitar, guitar. And at a certain point, the two things, the kind of really peaceful state of mind, and also you have to warm up a little bit, probably the same with your body when you're dancing, in order to make the movements unconscious. So you're not really thinking about your hands, your body, or anything. You're just kind of be able to express through whatever it is you're expressing through. And then I'll just see what happens. I generally just follow my intuition, and I'll record whatever. I got my own studio, so I work in the studio, and I'll record whatever feels right, and
Mm.
then I'll have all those pieces, and I'll just kind of see which ones fit, and then the making of the thing, the piece at the end, becomes almost its own exercise where you see all the pieces that you have, and you kind of figure out how they fit together and how they work to make something which has a kind of quality. It's the language is very vague because the process is kind of, it's
Mm.
not really, you can't really describe it in language, but when where it's hard, but when I finish something, I know it's finished. That's pretty much the the best way that I can say it. I know it's really vague, but I'll
Mm.
know when I'm on the right track, and then when something's finished, I really have no say. I feel I really have no say in the pieces of writing I make and the music I make. I really feel like I just kind of follow along with whatever this internal thing says, and then the point where it's done, I know it's done, and it's like, okay, so that's the thing, and then
Mm.
that's it. Did that make any sense at
No,
all?
it makes sense to me, and hopefully it makes sense to yours. But artists out there, I mean, they would get it. You just
Yeah,
know, like you said, there's no language to describe it. You just know. It's a knowing.
I really need to come up with like a very glib response to that. You know, something that's got like four
I
lines to
I
it.
followed you. I followed you because I'm very unorthodox when it comes to just. I have a hard time explaining too.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
I'm not
it
very
must be the same
verbal.
if someone says to you like, "Where did that dance move come from?" and you're like, "I'm not really sure. Just kind of happened."
Exactly.
Right?
I'm not that verbal when it comes to explaining that. So it's like it just was. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a knowing. So no, I followed you. So they'll process it and they'll eventually get it. But I wanted to play a sample of the Forever track
Okay.
because I especially it's kind of like I said in the email, it's the last part of it just I don't know, it was really good. It just put me in a different state of mind.
I'm really
Um,
glad.
that song. So I'm gonna play a little bit for our viewers and
Okay.
and try to see if I can get it to the last part because it is really I liked it. Like I said, I've been putting it in the background while I've been studying. So
Wow. That's
so
cool.
yeah, no, it's really nice. So here is a small clip or song audio clip from James. It's on his website, jamesradcliffemusic.com. So go listen, purchase, because I will be soon. So it's definitely worth everything. So, okay, here's the
Thank you.
audio. Yeah, hopefully they can hear it. Okay. Hmm. Yes. Wow. Yeah, you could. I wish you could see a visual, but I was. Wow. Yeah. Especially the entrance.
I'd really love. Do you video your dance pieces? Because I'd really love to see what you
I
do to it.
am. I am going to start. A girlfriend of mine says I need to. I am going to start and posting it on. I think I have a YouTube channel. Um, yeah, and probably on WordPress because yes, I need to start doing that because yeah.
Well, if you, I mean, I got like I think my blog's up to about 7,000 followers. So if you do something, if you do like a dance piece to one of my pieces, then point me at it, point me at the YouTube video, and I'll post it and give you a shout out and try and point people towards it. It'd be really cool to see
Yes.
what you do.
Oh yes, yes. I will definitely do it.
Cool.
So that's one of my favorite tracks there because it just the way it starts and then the way it just kind of mellows and it just the words and how you say it just for me it's a peaceful kind of place that I go to.
It's good. It makes me feel like I was just listening to it a little bit so I could hear, and it really uh, makes me feel like I recorded all of the tracks of the album between midnight and about 6 in the morning because I hadn't had my studio soundproofed properly yet, so I had to record during the night. So all the tracks on the album were recorded between about midnight and about 6 in the morning, when it was quiet. And just listening to it then, that's kind of it reminds me of the middle of the night. That kind of moment when you're in the middle of the night, it's very quiet. That's what I think of,
Yeah,
you know.
that's yeah. That's kind of like the visualization I had because I love the night. So that's kind of like the visualization that I had, just walking through, you know, night with the moon shining and just melting.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, so that was beautiful. So it's a little sensation that I get. So like I said,
I'm
music
really
is
glad. It's such a
nice.
beautiful thing to since I put the album out. It's such a beautiful thing to have people like because a lot of people have connected with it and they've kind of I get a lot of email from people which I love and it's so nice when you hear anyone telling you how it's affected them even if it's in a little way or if they love it and it's a really beautiful thing. I kind of
Yeah.
encourage any artist listening or anyone I meet to do it to make something and put it out and let the world kind of echo it back to you. It's a really it's one of the most beautiful things in my life I think so far. It really is.
Yes. I think it is. Yeah. And that's kind of like my mentality too. It's like I really want to heal through dance. That's the best way that I know. That's the only way that I see. You know,
Yeah.
myself really touching people because I know when I'm dancing, it's coming from an authentic, true place, and I you can see it all over me, and that's what I tell my friends and people. It's like my true self comes out when I'm dancing. The authentic kind of true side
Yeah.
of me.
Then you have to
So
do that. That's what you have to do.
yes, I mean yes, I'm.
Like you have to do it.
That's why my girlfriend's like, you gotta record yourself and put it out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna do it.
Do it. And when you do it, please let me know. Please let me know. I'd love to see it.
Oh yes, it'll be public because it. I've just been what they call not a closet dancer, but just like you said, like it's because dancing to me as well is very personal and it's like I just let go and there's no inhibition. It's like I lose myself, so I need to share that to allow other artists or dancers just to be like you can do the same. You can do it. It's freedom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's neat. No, I'll definitely let you know and yeah. So that's wonderful. So I'm on a high from the music, so so I'm gonna come back down. But is there anything else about the art world? The process that you want to tackle? Because I know we on here we try to tackle the spiritual part of it because art, spirit, I mean that goes hand in hand. But I wanted to ask you something about that as well.
Okay.
So if you feel like there's anything you said kind of enough about art, what you can never say enough about art, but
You
Anything
mean,
that you
so
want to add?
I'm
Yeah,
a bit
anything that
hazy.
you want to
Go on, ask me a question because I'm a bit hazy in the question.
add. Okay. Well, the other part that I liked in your writing, the philosophy of life, the purpose of life, actually. And here at Discovery, we're always looking for um, people's spiritual perspective, how they view themselves, how they view their world, and how they view themselves in relation to others, their spiritual self, how they have evolved, how they have
Sure.
discovered their higher self. So I know on your blog, The Purpose of Life, um, I really liked that quote too that you said. It's to create value, to connect with, and give that value to others,
Yeah.
and to foster evolution.
Yeah.
So speak on that a little bit about your spiritual journey.
Okay. First, I'm still like that. The title always makes me kind of giggle and cringe a little bit because I wrote a blog post called "The Purpose of Life," which I think is it's a kind of vast topic to tackle anyway. But kind of writing a blog post which is necessarily super short and has brevity to it is a little bit. It's kind of almost arrogant, but um, I do believe that I think that what people are here to do is, I think as a kind of human organism, as a kind of one thing, we're here to evolve. It seems that we just keep going forward, we keep getting better, and that everyone, all the talk about, what are you here to do? What's your thing? I really think that almost everything, or pretty much everything, that people bracket as your true purpose boils down to creating value of some kind and then giving it to people, and that the people that do that are the ones that kind of prosper. So if you look at people who are, you know, quote unquote successful, and not necessarily celebrities, but people who are actually, you know, moving forward and doing good things, you'll generally find, almost without exception, that they're making something, they're creating something, they're doing something which gives tremendous value to other people, and then other people are getting that value, and there's a kind of exchange that happens because human beings, I think, as creatures, if we get something, we naturally want to give something back. It's just kind of who we are. And the value, what value is, I think, is kind of just something that adds to life. And when you add life to something, then it evolves. And you see with people who try and do things in a selfish way, they try and take, or they try and just get stuff for themselves, they never really prosper. I mean, definitely in the long term, hardly ever in the short term. If they do in the short term, it's usually followed by a big drop. I think, and I really think that if people focus on that, especially artists, if you're an artist or if you're anything, if you're in any job, then if you really focus on adding value to people, like getting your own thing, the thing that you can do that no one else can do, and you give that to people, you make it and you connect with people, I really don't think people are going to have a problem, making a living or actually being really super happy. Because I think that's one of the things that keys into being a genuinely happy person, and it's definitely been true in my own life. Like the more I've done that, the more genuinely happy I felt, and I am at the moment, at least, touch wood. Okay, my life is amazing. My life is genuinely amazing, and
Yeah.
I put it down to that.
Wow. Yes. Well said. Happiness begins with you, right?
Definitely,
It
definitely.
really does, the internal work, and then everything falls into place, you know?
Yeah.
So in our first show was called Mirrors because we were discussing about everyone that we come in contact with, they're like a mirror for us. They're like a
That's so
teacher.
true. That's really true.
Yeah. So that's the ultimate lesson right there, and you get to learn a lot about yourself through others,
Yeah,
and that's why I love connecting and interacting, and because it makes you grow.
it really does. Yeah.
It does make you grow. Yeah, that was beautifully said.
Thank
So
you.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Um, yeah, I resonated with that. So,
I think it's because you
uh,
ask such beautiful questions. I think that's what it is.
oh, it comes from the heart. It's like whoever I'm with, I ask different questions. Whoever is on the other end, it's just the energy that I pick up on, and that's how I roll. That's how my interview rolls. They're very kind of like scattered, but it has purpose.
No, they're my favorite for sure. I love interviews, podcasts, and conversations that are just kind of long and they're free form. I don't get much from the kind of canned interview kind of segments that you see with people. They don't really add a
um,
lot to me. So this is cool.
yeah, it's like a communication in the park, like a talk in the park, but we cover a lot. Sometimes
Yeah,
I forget because I'm so in the moment with that person. I forget what I've had asked, and when I go back and see the video, I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't know I asked that. I didn't know the answer to that because I'm so in the moment. I'm really picking up on the energy, and that's yeah, that's something I've had to work on and train to be in the moment, and it's really nice because I
yeah,
can flow. So yeah, so tingly feeling in the head. So that's how I can describe it. Um,
it's cool.
yeah. So anything else that you want to? Because I know we can go on forever about music. Um, anything else that like any advice or tidbits for, like I said, aspiring musicians that want to truly either be in business or make music for themselves or for others, what would be your advice?
So I have answers to this because that's one of the things that people email me about the most. So I do have like good answers. But it's a strange answer. Like people email me and I think they want sexy advice, and my advice is distinctly unsexy, I think. But but here it
I
is.
heard that.
I think so. The first thing I'd say, honestly, and this is probably the most unsexiest piece of advice ever, is if you wanna really make a living doing what you love, if you want to go down that path, then the first thing you have to do is you have to learn to live really frugally. It's like it's really unsexy, but it's really true. And because like a lot of people don't equate the fact that money equals time in your life. And if you want to do the art, if you want to do that for your life, you're going to have to invest a lot of time in not only mastering your craft, but also understanding what you bring to the table. And every time you can save money, that's a little bit more time that you can invest in that, so it'll speed up the process. And it's a great thing. It's a great thing to do. And the second thing I'd say is, with anything, is have your number one focus be the quality of your work, because a lot of people, a lot of people write to me and they ask me about things like social media strategy, like marketing, um, what do I do on Facebook? How do I get so many WordPress followers? All of these type of questions, and you can tell that it can be completely overwhelming, and they're trying to do all 10 different things at once. But I think the truest thing is that great content, great art will market itself. You really don't have to worry about anything if you have made something which is incredible. It'll pass by word of mouth. People will love it anyway. But if you've made something which is not not as good as you could have made it because you've been spending so much time with your attention fractured, then you'll have a really hard time and it'll always seem like a struggle. So those two things, which are not the sexiest pieces of advice, the learn to live really frugally and also focus on the quality of your work, I think are the two most important things for any artist coming up.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard of the term sexy advice, but if I may, yeah, they're super sexy advice with
Oh really?
anything.
Okay, cool. Oh, that's so cool.
I've
That's
never
so
heard
cool.
it. Yeah, anybody say that, but like you said, people want the glitter and all the glam and all of that, but those are good two foundational advice
Yeah.
to have. Period. You
Yeah.
know. So yeah, they transcend sexy. So, in my view,
That's cool. Well, that's maybe I'll re-bracket it. Maybe I'll start saying it's really sexy advice.
it's super sexy.
Super sexy advice.
That is so cute. I've
Yeah.
never heard that saying. So, no, that's awesome. And I think if people really take that to heart, um, it can impact their life. It can really improve their life.
Yeah,
Tremendous.
for sure.
So, yeah. Wow. So, yeah, you aspiring artists out there, listen.
Do it. Should do.
um,
The world needs more of that. I think.
yes,
You know?
it does. It really does. Art and love, they're in
Yeah.
between.
I
So,
also think as well though, that it's anything. I think that if you're if you're a mother, if you're someone who any type of job, anything, if you focus on really giving as much as you can and having that whatever you give be of quality. Like if you're looking after your kid and you're really focused on spending, I mean, it's a trite phrase, it's overused, but quality time, actually being fully focused on your kid, or, if you're a gardener, same thing. Whatever you do, if you do it with that kind of mindset, it will give more to people around you, and it gives so much more to yourself. Like linking back to that thing you said about mirroring, I always think that the things you do, they don't only impact the world, they impact yourself, even though it's a little bit harder to see. So I really think that whatever you do, whatever that thing is, which is a better quality, the world needs more of that. Like whatever you do, if you just focus on that, things will be good.
wow. Yes, yes,
Right?
yes, yes, yes. Just yes, yes. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a lot more when I rehear this interview. I think people, especially aspiring artists, are just gonna get some good information from this because young artists coming up, they're especially looking for some kind of encouragement and support. So I think that's wonderful. We all need to
That's
be
great.
nurtured. Yeah, we all need to
That's
be
really great.
nurtured and allowed to be free with expressing ourselves. So that's the ultimate for me.
Yeah.
So, any other lasting thoughts? I like to play a little fun game at the end
Okay.
with my guests. I don't know if you are familiar with psychology world where it's called a fill in the blank. Like whatever comes to mind, fill in the blank.
Seriously, like
So
free association. Okay.
yeah, yeah, that's what it is. Yes, thank you for trying it.
Okay.
It's been a
Okay.
while. So
Okay.
I
Let's play.
always love to do that with my guests. If you have any other thoughts that you want to add, um, and also give out your information, your website, and where they can find you as well,
Okay.
so they can get in contact with you.
Okay. I think the only other thing is, for some reason, I always want to talk about this. I made a decision to give 10% of all of my profits as an artist to uh, a charity called VSN, which what it does is it feeds, clothes, and educates orphan children in Nepal, and that has been another one of the kind of joys of the process for me is that I've been able to, like, through selling my album and making money through music, I've been able to give some quite sizable donations to the charity, and I've become quite friendly with them, and it's really lovely to see kind of the work that's happening with the money I've been given, and it's very, very cool. And they're a really lovely organisation, and if you want to give money to them, then um, the website I think is Volunteer Services Nepal. There's a few VSNs, but Volunteer Services Nepal. They're a really, really cool organisation, and they do really, really great work. I know personally some people who've done some work with them, and they literally take kids who are on the street who can't feed themselves and have no education, and like I get newsletters from them now, and they've taken some kids off the street and literally sent them to university. Literally raised them through like the entire time, and it's incredible work, and it's a really worthy thing to do. So that always springs to mind.
Oh,
Okay.
that touches my heart. And yeah, I think I read something about that where you do give 10% to a charity, and we can find this on your website. You have this information.
on my information. So my website is jamesradcliffe.com, which is JamesRadcliffe.com, and pretty much everything is linked into that. I think my Twitter is at James Radcliffe as well. If you want my Twitter, that's where I am most days, but that's what you can see what I'm doing in the studio and stuff like that. But everything else is on the website, my blogs and my music and everything else.
That's beautiful. Because the island where I was born, there's a lot of children like that. So
Where
that's yeah. I visited there years ago, and it just just talking to my dad, it's like, yeah, this is the norm. You know, they just
right.
have no home, and it's like something needs to change. So that's my other ambitious goal too, to go back to my island and do something about that. So that's really neat. Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, I know how that looks out because yeah, that's very inspiring, and that's what it's all about. Giving back.
I think so, really. Yeah, for sure. Like, especially people who have a lot less.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, please visit that website. Please, what you can do, donate or purchase James' album, and give back, support.
Absolutely. And if anyone else is listening to this, I think you should petition Yanev to do a dance piece with one of my pieces and put it on YouTube. I think that's what everyone should do. I think.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's in the bucket. It's gonna be done. I'm inspired. It's gonna be done.
I think it needs to happen. I'm really curious, actually. I would honestly, genuinely love to see it.
Okay, I'm in. It's a long weekend of work tomorrow, so I'm gonna do it.
And did you say you haven't bought the album yet?
No, I haven't, but I will. And on the website, I'm confused because it says sold out, but is that correct or not?
No, I did a limited edition CD run, so that was the CDs. The limited edition CDs sold out super fast, but you can still get a digital download. But if you just send me your email address, I'll hook you up.
Okay, yes, because I would like to support. I love to just.
Oh no, this is even better. So if you send me your email address, like you can do it through the contact form on the website. I'll hook you up as long as you do a dance piece to one of my pieces of music and film it. How's that?
Okay.
Done. Okay, good.
Okay, yes, I would definitely, but I do plan to get the album. I can have it all the time, so I do plan on doing that. So
Okay, great.
yes, it's official.
You're on record now. Like the internet has heard you.
Yes. Okay, it's official. Yanef will do it.
Great. That's really great.
All right. Yes, I'm inspired. So.
Me too.
Yes. So some free association, really cute, really fun. So.
Okay.
Like 5 or 6. So whatever pops in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Music to me is.
Golden.
My greatest gift is.
I didn't hear that one. What did you say?
My greatest gift is.
My greatest gift?
Yes.
Kindness.
What is it?
Kindness.
Kindness.
Mm.
Okay. Love is.
Good.
Okay. Beach or lake?
Beach or lake?
Yes.
Beach.
Okay. And if I could give the world one thing, what would it be?
Oh, can you say that again? You're breaking up.
If I could give the world one thing, it would be
music.
Ah. Love it. Love it. So I thoroughly enjoyed this session. I don't even call it.
This. It's been great.
So, grinning. I'm getting a cheek workout at the same time. I am glad we made it happen. Like I
I'm
said,
so glad.
Yes, it's been awesome. I hope everyone gets the same reaction because I enjoyed myself, learned a lot, and got inspired, and to hone my own craft, my own art. So that's beautiful. That's what it's all about.
I'm glad.
And we're not done with you yet, so we look forward like to having you back as well.
Anytime, anytime. Glad to do
uh,
it. I really love doing this. It's amazing. Really cool to
awesome,
speak to you.
awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it because we sure did. And once it's up and uploaded, we will give you a notice so you can go out and hear it and share it on your site. But I'm just grateful for this session and thank you so much for sharing.
You're so welcome.
And keep sharing and keep, sharing your art and inspiring others because I know I was inspired. So, so yes. Namaste. You can't really see me, but that's how I always kind of, because I'm so grateful for the connection. So,
thank you.
Yes. And Kareem said, "Awesome, guys." Thank
Great.
you, Kareem. You made it happen. You're awesome.
Thanks, Kareem. Yeah. Technical
Oh,
wizard.
peace and love, James, and I will be in contact. So,
Right back at you, and I'll expect it.
All right. Oh, and as promised,
okay.
You said that you do have an accent. Well, you don't have a Scotland accent, but I wanted to see if I have one.
Do it.
I don't know how they sound, but I just think that whenever I get in a silly mood, it's like, well, my name is Ronald. What's your name? And, I don't know if that's Australian or British or what have you.
It sounds Cockney. It sounds like London Cockney.
Well, that's my little preview there. So, yeah. That's about
well, I think it's a very good London Cockney.
Oh, thank you. So.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right.
All right.
Much love, peace, and blessings. And like I said, we will keep in touch.
Right back at you. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you. And peace and love, our discovery of self viewers. Ciao. Adios.